Hello, how you guys doing? You guys doing good? Do you want to not be doing good? You guys want to be a scared? Alright. Well, let's get spooky with it. There's a couple that have been recommended to me quite a few times. Trying to see if... Oh, wow. There's quite a few parts to this one. Alright. So, one of the ones that was recommended to me was an SCP. And I feel like if we're going to do SCP, as much as everyone loves, like, this, that, or the other, I believe it's 96 was the first one? No, that's... Which one was the first one? 30... the first SCP. There we go. Let's just look that up. 173. I knew that. Right. Let's read SCP-173 first before we do anything. Traded, thank you for the 17 months of support. Despite the fact that maybe other creepypastas are better now, specifically I was linked 3300, which we'll read in a minute. We'll start with this one because I feel like it's quintessential. It defined the everything about this. It defined the writing style of it. I think that's pretty rad. So let's go ahead and cut out the music. Get all spooky with it. Get some rain. Rain sound effects. Get a little rain on the window. Hopefully that works. Hopefully you like that. Pay respects to the classics. We found last time that some of them suck. But if you guys have any recommendations, I'm going to read this one, 3300, and then I'll read, I guess, part 1 of the left-right game? I don't know what the left-right game is, but I've had it recommended to me. So I guess, well, more important than probably showing you guys the rain, I should probably show you. What was the name of it? Forest Rescue? That one with the stairs? That one's really good. Ego Angel, thank you for the 49 months of support. We got to show off SCP-173. Classic design. It was originally a statue that some artists made, but then it got turned into like a creepypasta. The Forest Rescue ones are good. I feel like we got to do one of those. I love those. But anyway, SCP-173. Item number SCP-173. Object class Euclid. Euclid? Probably should know how to pronounce that. Special containment procedures. Item SCP-173 is to be kept in a locked container at all times. When personnel must enter SCP-173's container, no fewer than 3 may enter at a time, and the door must remain locked behind them. At all times, 2 persons must maintain direct eye contact with SCP-73 until all personnel have been evacuated and relocked the container. Description. Moved to Site 19 in 1993. Origin as yet unknown. Constructed of concrete and rebar with traces of Krylon brand spray paint. SCP-173 is animate and extremely hostile. The object cannot move while in direct line of sight. Line of sight must not be broken at any time with 173. Personnel assigned to enter the container are instructed to alert one another before blinking. Object is reported to attack by snapping the neck at the base of the skull or by strangulation. In the event of an attack, the personnel are to observe Class 4 hazardous object containment procedures. Personnel report sounds of scraping stone originating from within the container when no one is present inside. This is considered normal, and any change in this behavior should be reported to the acting HMCL supervisor on duty. The reddish-brown substance on the floor is a combination of feces and blood. Origins of these materials is unknown. The enclosure must be cleaned on a bi-weekly basis. Creator information. It's actually got information about it. So no redacted stuff, but it sets so much of the precedent of how these work. People forget that 173 manifests shit for some reason. Yeah, I think it does so in order to justify any reason to go in there. Because if it didn't just shit and bleed everywhere, there'd be absolutely no reason to enter that. You just lock the door and you're like, done? Like, why even open the cage? Actually, yeah, why not just have a grate under this thing? I never thought about that before, but you know how you'd obviously have to have it run off into something else. But yeah, just install a drain onto the floor. Like, make the floor drain. And then have that contained within, like, concrete. Eventually, it just gets clogged with a mixture of shit and blood. Well, it doesn't have to be automated. You could just have it where it's like, hold up. Automatic, cat, So check this out, right? All right. All right. So self-cleaning cat box.
Since the litter robot is pretty much...
Yeah, I don't give a shit, man. Yeah, whatever. You gotta be okay. But look. This is the bit I want to get at. All right, why not have this going on? Just have like a section under it that you pull out. And so all the blood and shit goes through the grate, and then it goes into a thing like that. And then you just remove that, and you switch it out. You could even have, like, a thing go across the bottom so it doesn't have any way to see out while you're doing this. And then you just remove that when you're done. And you just replace the tray. I like the idea that the longer no one looks at it, the more it aggressively shits. I mean, okay. And it doesn't even have to be robotic. I don't know. Something I never thought about. Wow. Interesting. The image of the art piece Untitled 2004. Huh. Funny. Okay. Anyway, there's that. Destroying anomalies is against Foundation policy. And it may be impossible to do so. Like, what happens if you just break it? You know? Some of these you just can't kill. I think the unkillable lizard guy gets stronger the more you don't kill him. Like, if you kill him, or if you try and kill him and it doesn't work, then it gets worse. There's a really good series on YouTube of, it's like Spec Ops, like the guys go in and actually retrieve the SCP. That's great stuff. But anyway, we got SCP-3300 that has been submitted privately by Florida Man. So thank you, Florida Man, for this recommendation. Item number SCP-3300. Object class Euclid. Euclid? Whatever. Same thing. Special containment procedures. I haven't read this one, so I don't know this one. Containment of SCP-3300 is focused on observation and ensuring that it does not spread from the affected area. A mobile observation post has been set up 5 kilometers outside the town of Clearwater, Montana for this purpose. Attempts at manned exploration of SCP-3300 events are currently suspended. When the SCP-3300 events begins, the observation team is to fall back to a point 10 kilometers from the town's borders and continue observation. Any unusual activity is to be noted. Any attempts to made by outsiders to enter or exit the area will be halted. Non-lethal force is authorized for this purpose. Instances of SCP-3300-1 attempting to leave Clearwater will be detained and interviewed under the pretense of police search. Following this, they will be allowed to continue their travels under Foundation observation. All personnel involved in the containment of 3300 are prescribed a weekly dose of Class Y Mnesnics. M-N-E-S-T-I-C-S. Monastics? What? Amnesics? Yeah, it doesn't have the A. I assume it was supposed to be amnesics. Or whatever. Makes you forget shit. Description. SCP-3300 is an annual event in which the populace of Clearwater, Montana... Is that a real place? I assume it's not. It's kind of hard to tell. Clearwater, Montana Properties. It's apparently the name of a real estate company in Montana. And that's about it. But maybe it is, but the Foundation's keeping us out. Henceforth known, SCP-3300 is an annual event in which the populace of Clearwater, Montana, henceforth known as SCP-3301, disappears and is replaced by a new set of citizens. The SCP-3300 event typically occurs in the mid-portion of June and lasts 6 to 18 days. The first 48 hours of each event are marked by light and continuous rain over the entire city. The rain is stationary and appears regardless of the weather in the surrounding area. The portion of the event ends when the rain transitions to severe thunderstorm, lasting for the remaining of the duration of SCP-3300. The interior of SCP-3300 event past this point has never been observed. Any attempt by the Foundation to explore the event has either ended in total loss of personnel and equipment or failure to even enter the phenomena. Several times personnel entering SCP-3000 have emerged instantaneously on the other side. Okay. When the SCP-3300 event ends, all previous SCP-3300-1 instances will have been replaced by new iterations with completely new appearances, personalities, and memories. Beyond remarking on the unusual severe nature of the storm, new instances show no recollection of the event. Instances of SCP-3300-1 behave identically to baseline human beings, however, no record of any instance prior to their appearance from SCP-3300 event exists. Instances will occasionally share names, professions, certain memories, broad personality traits with those from previous iterations of SCP-3300. However, no SCP-3300-1 instance has observed repeating from previous events. SCP-3300-1 instances are unaware of the anomalous nature and circumstances surrounding their existence. Physical and post-mortem examinations reveal no difference from baseline humans. Instances of SCP-3300-1 outside the town, when SCP-3300 occurs, will disappear several days after the event begins. All attempts to observe this disappearance have failed. Sounds like you guys are shit at your job. Why not just, kidnap someone prior to June? And then from the town. And they just lock him to a chair. See what happens. I don't know. It's fucked up, but so is this organization, so whatever. Baseline human is just a guy. New guy just dropped. SCP-3300-1. SCP-3300 is accompanied by a moderate cognohazard effect. Outside citizens learning about the existence of the town of Clearwater, or its citizens will give little to no thought to them unless the subject is brought to their direct attention. This effect affects focus rather than memory. Those affected do not forget that Clearwater exists, but rather show difficulty paying attention to it. Once citizens familiar with the disappeared instances of 3300 will not comment on their absence unless reminded, and even then show little concern. The history of SCP-3300 is unknown. Records of its existence go back to the beginning of the Foundation. Despite that, there's almost been no progress has been made in attempts to research the phenomena. Addendum. The following journal was recovered in the aftermath of the SCP-3300 event ending on the 30th of June 1995. It represents one of the few descriptions that occurs during the phenomena. The writer of the document has identified as SCP-3300 1995-4307, aka Margaret Lane. Why not just say Margaret Lane of SCP-3300? Why the fuck have that series of numbers? How many other ones do you have to deal with? Fucking organization. Bureaucracy and bullshit red tape is what that is. The event describes the journal are unverified attempts to automatically observe the interior of SCP-3300 event are still underway. Hey, if Kurt Cobain kept a journal, it can't be a bad idea, right? Help express my artistic side or something. Finally get all the writing I've wanted to get done. I don't know. Mom said it might find good way for me to focus things. Which means she wants an easier way to snoop and make sure that I'm staying clean. Joke's on her, though, if she ever thinks that she's going to be able to find this. Still, I guess it could be nice to find something to look back on. Hopefully to remind myself that things get better. It's a dream I've been having. It's weird. I don't usually remember my dreams, but I've had this one like 3 times the past week. In it, I'm not myself. I'm in a small hut, standing above a bed where my daughter lies. Her skin is red and blotchy hot. I'm praying that the disease won't take her, praying that that she will recover, or that this is some other sickness. It's no use. I know. The corpse of my husband won't let me forget. Another of the healthy, a boy who thinks himself a man, calls us together. The few that remain gaze around the room and see the same expression on their faces, and I feel in my heart. All except the boys. He grins as we enter and gestures to a bowl of water in front of him. I found it. The key to our salvation, he says. And then it ends. Weird, right? No idea what to make of it. Anyway, I'm heading to Sam's. So that's going to be it for the day. Gray clouds on the horizon. We need rain. What? I can't remember what the sun... This is a new journal entry, I assume. I can't remember what the sun looks like. Ha, joking. But it's been drizzling for 3 days. And it doesn't look like it's going to let up soon. Phones are patchy as hell, too. Radio says we can expect the weather to continue for at least a week. David tried to come earlier today, and I told him right the back off to the ditch he crawled out of. I don't care how good of a shit he'd made in his hands, or he'd gotten on his hands was. He did his whole kick puppy dog routine, but even left before my mom noticed, thank God. Rain's kind of relaxing, actually. It's got a rhythm to it. I could get used to this. I don't think it's ever stormed this hard in my life. It's 2 in the afternoon. Looking outside, you'd swear it's midnight. My throat is starting to get sore from shouting over the noise. You have no idea what the hell happened. 1 minute it was drizzling. The next minute, someone flipped the switch to dump the entire Pacific Ocean on our heads. Internet and phone are completely out. Few seconds of clear radio we get are just a barrage of tornado and flood warnings. Nothing to do but hold up inside and see how many games of Monopoly we can play until Mom kills me or I kill myself. I swear some of the people in this town must be absolutely insane because sometimes when the lightning flashes I can see them walking around inside. Some of them are just standing there. Here's another entry. I'm writing this from the back of Jared's van. We're going 80 miles an hour down the highway, and Isabel is crying next to me. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I think I'm gonna die. I'm gonna keep writing this, though. My hand shakes less when I write. It couldn't have been more than an hour ago that it happened. We're all at my place. Sam, Jared, Mike, and Isabel had come over. Who the fuck are these people? I expected them, but Jared insisted that he wasn't going to let something like a tiny biblical flood stop us from exploring the bottom levels of the Dreadlich Azragoth domain. Stupid. New squad? Is it a new squad because something happened? So there's more, but I'm just going to take a second. My assumption is that there is magic done by Native Americans in Montana back in the day to deal with, I want to go smallpox. And the magic was some sort of rain that cleans off the disease or whatever. But it does it in some fucked up weird way. I think that's what's happening. Anyway, we rolled up and started playing like everything was normal. Sam's DMing the stupid monster accent she does. Isabel and Mike are arguing over every little scrap of treasure and possible trap that we come across. Jared struggling just to keep us all from killing each other. Mom in the other room pretending she wasn't listening in. They're not doing drugs. They're just playing D&D. They're not going to get laid. They're fucking nerds. It was Isabel who first noticed the banging on the door, like someone was trying to break it down. At first, we weren't sure what to do. I mean, anyone banging that hard on your door so late is going to be suspicious even if there's not a fucking hurricane outside, right? So we just sat there staring at each other until Jared got up and grabbed the poker from the fireplace and went to check the peephole. Wonder what his first thought was. Surprise? Confusion? Did he just accept it like I did? Too stunned by the weirdness to question when he opened the door and saw a family on our porch. A mom and dad and 2 kids. Never seen them before. For a second, we all just stared at each other, and the dad shoved past Jared and said, "Why are you in my house?" Okay. And that's when my mom charged him with a golf club. He barely had time to react before she swung it into his chest. For a second, she looked pleased with herself. I'm sure she was already forming a story to tell our friends about how she fought off a home invader. When she tried to pull the golf club back, she couldn't. The expression disappeared. The guy didn't look a bit hurt, not even fazed. The club was stuck in his chest, with the skin around it rippling, like you do when you throw a stone into a pond. Water dripped out of the metal when the metal entered the skin. My mom stared, then screamed, fell back, scrambled at the floor to get away. The man looked down at the club with the same expression you might give a dead cockroach. He grasped at it right where he speared him through, yanked it out of his chest, and held it as he walked towards my mom. She stopped moving the first time he hit her in the head. She just fell like a rock. He hit her again and again and again. The whole time he was saying, my house, the same tone. The only fucking way he knew how to speak, and the kids were just standing in the door watching, and the wife was holding them close, and I swear to God she was smiling. Sam just stood up, like he was going to charge the guy, but Mike wrapped himself around her and said, don't. That we had to run, so we did. Mike and Sam grabbed Jared, even though he wasn't moving, and I grabbed the journal without even thinking about it. I don't really remember anything except for Sam driving and crying, and Mike screaming, and all I could think about was the way my mom's body looked when she fell, the light disappearing from her eyes before the body hit the floor. We drove right to the police station. Me and Mike decided to go inside while Sam and Isabel watched Jared, and the lights were on, the station was locked, and no one was inside. We walked around, looked through every window, nothing. We got back in the car. Jared was still not awake, and his breathing was all fucked up. So we discussed it and decided to take him to the hospital in Landlart. It's only a 2-hour drive. We should be there soon. It'll be okay. Another one. New entry. It's been 6 hours. We're almost out of gas. Jared still isn't awake. We haven't made it to Landhart yet. We've doubled back twice. Looked for road signs, building lights, anything to tell us where the fuck we are. But there's nothing. No signs, no cities, no gas station. We haven't passed a single car since we left my house. The rain's just falling. It's hard out here. Mike says we need to turn around and try and get back into town before we get stranded. Isabel says that's crazy. We need to keep looking for the hospital. We don't have enough to make it back anyway. Sam, she's going to just keep driving. That's all we can do at this point. New entry. Jared's dead and we're out of gas. The car died maybe an hour ago. Jared maybe an hour and a half after that. No idea where we are. Decided to double back, see if we'd passed the hospital, but there was nothing. Isabel and Mike are going at it, each convinced that this is the other's fault. Sam's ignoring them. She's just sitting there by Jared, holding his hand. She hasn't looked away from him since he stopped breathing. Hasn't said 10 words since we left town. So this is a weird one. Another entry. Must have fallen asleep because I had another dream. I knew instantly because it was a continuation from before. It was too clear, too substantial to be anything else. Even though I know it was a dream, I couldn't do anything but watch. I stand half ankle deep in a vast clear river. I'm holding the corpse of my daughter. I'm not sure how I recognize her. As taken by the sickness she is. Her hair has fallen out. Her skin is covered entirely in black scabs that hid her eyes. Flecks of cracked skin fall away as my arms rub against her body. But for some reason, as I look at her, I don't feel sorrow. I feel hope. I kneel and place her into the water. It drifts to the surface, and the water engulfs her, makes her part of it. She becomes the current that takes her. I know it will sweep her to the sea where she can finally be at peace. But the work isn't done. I turn, I wade back to the shore. The blackened body of my husband waits. As I do so, I become more cognizant of others, the survivors, each with them the body of their children, families, friends, 18 survivors, hundreds of bodies. One by one, we take them to the river until only we remain. I woke up to the sound of Jared evaporating? Yep, that's the word. What? It took me a minute to realize what was going on. The others were scrambling around the body and I couldn't get a good look. All I could see was steam filling the car. When I pushed my way through, I saw his body was boiling. Hope? Ho. Man, it's just gotta evaporate sometimes, you're right. That's the best way to describe it. Bubbles writhing and popping across the surface of his skin. Drops of water leaping off of him and burning where they touched us. The shape of him almost completely gone, aside from a vaguely human-looking lump within the clothings and some ridges that might have been facial features. Sam tried to touch the water and, I don't know, stop it, save him, catch him, but the heat of the steam pushed her back. All we could do is watch Jared fizzle away, until the only thing left of him was vapor and soaked clothing. What? That's a big what? Another entry here. We decided to leave. Or Mike and Sam decided to leave, and Isabel and I realized we didn't have any choice but to follow. I mean, what difference did it make? So what the fuck happened to Jared again? When he did, the dad just flung him, snagged Jared by the collar and tossed him into the living room, into the kitchen. Jared smacked the counter and went limp, and Dad said again in the exact same tone, "Why you're in my house?" Okay, that's what happened. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is he dead? He just got yeeted super hard. Okay. I was wondering why he was like fucked up in the first place. I think I missed a paragraph. And it's the one where he got yeeted. We decided to leave, or Sam and Mike decided to leave. Isabel and I realized we didn't have any choice but to follow. I mean, what difference did it make? Stay or go? The outcome would be the same, but I figured trying to find something out there might be better than staying in the car until we all starved to death. We grabbed a flashlight in the glove box and headed out. We couldn't have walked more than a mile before we reached town. We almost bumped into Mike when he stopped walking. After shining the light into the "Welcome to Clearwater" sign, he didn't say anything. What could he say? We turned around, started walking the other way. Not sure how far. 2 miles? 3? We didn't pass the car, but it didn't matter. We ended up at the same sign, the city. Sam turned, walked off the highway and into the farmlands surrounding it. We followed. We knew we wouldn't work, but we followed anyway. On the other side of the field, we found ourselves back in the highway, in front of the sign. Mike insisted he was going back in. No fucking way. I'd rather take the risk of out in the rain than spend another second in whatever that was in the city. We pointed out that whatever was in the city was pretty clearly outside of it too. At least the city had food. He wouldn't listen, so he started walking. 3 minutes later, he caught up. Didn't say a word. The lights in the town were all on, but there were no people, no cars. A few times I thought I saw movement, but it was always just a branch or piece of trash picked up by the winds. We were on alert the whole time, but nothing happened. We decided to hold up in Dirk's Sporting because it had guns, and right next to it was the grocery store. Sam and Mike went to grab food, while Isabel and meaning just I, took stock of the store. While the others came back, we started working in shifts to sleep in. 2 awake at the same time. I volunteered for the first shift even though I felt like I wanted to collapse. I just couldn't stand to dream again. Mike shot himself. Okay. This is a new passage, by the way. Mike shot himself. We're a lot more fucked than I first thought. Yeah, if you're at people are shooting themselves territory, shit sucks. Rip Mike. Absolutely zooted. Driving around. Getting confused. Turn around back. For a while, I was still holding on to the idea of survival. It's like some sort of exit to whatever fucked up situation we found ourselves in. But there isn't. I don't think there ever was. I think this is the only ending we could have ever hoped for. But I keep thinking about that if I'm going insane, so Mike, he's dead. We're on shift together. He got up. He said he'd be back in a minute. I figured he was just going to the bathroom until I heard a gunshot. BRB, gunshot, boom. I got there about 20 seconds before Sam and Isabel. His body slumped against the wall, shotgun barrel in his mouth. Is that Kurt Cobain? Like, that's literally Chekhov's gun, except for more fucked up. There was no blood. I thought he missed or accidentally discharged until I saw the hole in the back of his skull. Then I realized there was something splattered on the wall behind him. It wasn't blood. It was water. Isabel screamed when she saw the body. I heard her gasp and ignored her. Sam knelt next to me, close enough that I could feel her trembling. For a moment, the only noise was her ragged breathing and Isabel's whimpers. Then Sam reached out and ran her fingers along the rim of Mike's skull. She drew them back and stared. A small noise rose from the back of her throat. Her fingertips were coated in water. Before I could react, she thrust more fingers into the wound. Water ran down her hands as she dug through what must have been his brain. Water sloshed in the chalice of his skull. When we lowered the body to rest on the floor, it was water that pooled on the wood. So, okay. Sam leapt up, ran to the counter, snatched the knife from its sheath, and held it to her arm. We stared at each other. We didn't want her to do it. Didn't want her to see what would happen. She sliced open her arm, and water spilled from the wound. We stared at the entry, too distracted to notice Isabel calling to us. It wasn't until she ran outside and yanked my sleeve that I remembered she existed. "Outside!" was all she said. Hundreds of people had gathered around outside the window, unmoving silhouettes staring through the darkness, filling the street. When the light flashed, I saw the faces of strangers, soaked by the rain. They'd been out there for 2 hours now. Haven't moved an inch. They're outside every window, every exit. I don't know how long they're willing to wait, but I'm damn sure it's longer than we have. Maybe Mike has the right idea. This isn't Jabroni Mike. This is unrelated Wet Mike. Yes, you're right. What? This is a weird one. I like it. This is a good one. I'm glad you recommended it. Sam left and we didn't bother to stop her. This is a new entry. Sam left and we didn't bother to stop her. She muttered something before she stood, marched out the door. I remember thinking, as I watched the door, that I should do something. I should reach out and call her or block the exit. I thought wouldn't make it past my brain. Like there was a wall between my nerves and my body. So I just stared as she stepped out into the rain. The silhouette shifted as soon as she was outside. They opened up to let her through, and she just vanished in behind them, into the dark. I don't want to go back. That's what she said before she left. What? I don't think creepypastas should be made into movies. I cannot think of a single one that ended up good. Just let stories be stories. I don't know how you extend this beyond what I'm about to read. So here's the last section. In my dream, I am the storm. I am screaming. The wind whips at me like razors raking through my body. The frost rain bites at my skin. Except that I don't have a body. I don't have skin. The wind is part of me. The rain is from me. Every second I rip myself apart and reform, rip and reshape, until I'm scattered over the miles of the storm, trapped in the royal. Around me I hear the screams of my village. I feel their presence against mine, just as much as part of the storm as I. We fight, struggle, but the storm can't be broken. It hurtles over the land, dragging us in its wake. And then I'm falling, rushing to meet the grounds. For a moment, the earth embraces me. I remember what it felt like to feel the dirt beneath my feet and the sun on my skin, the crisp air in my lungs, until the storm steals me again. I'm pulled back into the screams of my comrades. I woke up and Isabel is gone, just a puddle of water on the floor. I think it's the rain speaking to me. I can hear it ever since I woke up. I don't know what it's saying, but the whispers in my ear are getting louder. When I cover my ears, it's there. If I scream, it rises over the screaming. If I try and write it, focus on anything else, this fucking voice is still there. And I know what it wants me to do. It wants me to join it. I'm a child and it misses me. I can't bear to be apart. What can I do? What can I do? The strangers are still outside, watching me, waiting for my choice. Because they know what my choice will be, don't they? It's the only choice in the end. There's only one way this can end. I can wait and starve, or I shoot myself, or slice my wrist, or walk out into the rain. But it's going to end the same way. The water is eternal. The water will remain no matter how polluted it becomes. At the end, we all become rain. I don't want to go back. And that's the end of it. Fucking weird, dude. Fucking real weird, right? It's a good one. It's a good one. What do you guys think? Reminds me of a Goosebumps story where the protagonists don't know that they're robots. Have I written any pastas? Is the Town of Nowhere a creepypasta? I have to assume it's some sort of Native American magic thing. That's the reason it happened. Sexy pasta? Horror is it's good. I like my horror. After dark pasta. Wholesome pasta. Is it? So there's been a recommendation that I read the Left Right game. I also want to read what is it called? Search and Rescue Creepypasta. That series is really good. Let's see how I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service. It's an old one. Holy shit, I didn't realize it was this old. Oh, this is one that Corpse hasn't read? Yeah. I guess. Because I knew he was originally a creepypasta streamer, YouTuber. So he didn't write this, but he read it the way I'm doing. I love these. These are good. This series is good. This one's fairly recent. It's on our No Sleep, which is a creepypasta horror thing. I find a lot of the ones in this are actually alarmingly funny, like really stupid. Can we just hold up? I want to search for controversial. Is that a thing? Do they still have the controversial rating? On the No Sleep subreddit? That is to say, ones that, oh, it's a hidden thing. Oh. All stories submitted to our No Sleep belong to the original poster. If you fail to ask permission before narrating, translating, producing, or sharing any of their posts to any other web page, the original poster may file a DMCA strike against you. Okay. So, not that one then. And apparently the left-right game is also on our No Sleep. Chances that they do it? Probably not. Oh, thank you. Controversial ones. I want ones that got really shitty ratings. Just so, because, to bleed or not to bleed. Do not order the Meatinator from Smiley's. Not all ghost stories are scary. I can't stop thinking about stoats. My royal lover smuggled me onto a cruise ship. I'm worried something else snuck on with me. If you hear whispers over your shoulder at night, don't lie. I don't know where my bathroom went, and I'm terrified. I love these. I mean, I can't read any of the stories because of the terms and conditions. I don't like being alone with my brain. I mean, same, my dude. Carnival painting. Okay. My dad left his laptop open one night. I found a file that's been haunting me for weeks now, and I'm sharing it here so I don't feel alone. It's my mom getting a cream pie. 20 years ago. I'm 20 years old. My reflection left. Something happens when guilt grows in a person. It can consume them literally. I inherited a cabin from my grandfather, the murderous apple tree. Skunk lady. Why doesn't anyone see the body in my living room? Part 6. That's a neat concept, but I was just searching just some that were there. Luigi guy sent me that. I love it when creepypastas try and have like a really creepy idea, but like and those may actually be good. We don't know. I didn't bother to read any of them. I mean, I've seen Search and Rescue Woods like a billion times, but I haven't, because I know Mr. Creepypasta read it. The top controversial one of all time. I closed that window, so I don't know what it is. What is it called? I'll have to find, so is the left-right game made, was it originally posted on No Sleep? Because that's going to be issue. Wait, have you ever looked at a picture of a spider and felt it crawling on your skin? Well, the reason is you feel spiders crawling over your skin is because there are spiders crawling over you. What? Copyright notice. Note, all stories are submitted to our No Sleep belonging to the original poster. If you fail to ask permission before narrating, translating, producing, or sharing their post to another page or website, which is pretty much me reading it, the original poster may, not necessarily will, but may file a DMCA strike against you. This means that they will have their content removed from your page. If successful, if several authors file a DMCA strike against you, most sites will remove your page completely. like my YouTube channel and my Twitch channel. If you'd like for permission to narrate, translate, produce, or share a user's story to another site or webpage, you must do so in PMs. Asking for permission in the comments of the post is considered to be out of character, and as such, some or the comments will be removed. Why don't I go and send PMs to these people real quick? So, I mean, these are like old. These are very old. Let's see. Chat. Hey there. Just wondering if it would be okay for me to... I haven't read any from this yet. From our No Sleep. So we're good. I'm just going to DM these people. Give me a minute to DM these people. I mean, like, Neon Tippo, the person who wrote that last one, says, I'm going to do a left-right game Q&A on Twitch tomorrow, 11 months ago. Yeah, for a future read. I'm not going to do it today, but I can DM them now and find out how that's going to go. Wonder if it'd be okay for me to read your story on stream and post the VOD to YouTube. Thank you for your time. I mean, like, newest thing that they posted was 11 months ago. And Search and Rescue Woods was last active 11 months ago. How about the comment history? I don't know how to check. I don't know things. Posts? Oh, comments. There we go. Search and Rescue hasn't commented anything. Yeah, I think that they made this account literally just to be able to post this story. I'm gonna do things above board. You know, these are artists. These are people. New Creepypasta. All the best Are No Sleep authors disappeared 11 months ago. I mean, does seem to be something. All right. So with those two out of the way, does anyone have any recommendations of stories for me to read? Ones that are older creepypasta, perhaps, that won't have these copyright restrictions that we have to worry about. Dogscape? Dogscape. What is Dogscape? Creepypasta. What? This is a long-ass one. Red Light SCP? It's pretty horrible after a while. Godzilla NES? Sure. Godzilla NES. Because, like, some of these people have, like, Patreons, you know? And if, like, they've got a Patreon, I want them to be able to, like, you know, make money from it, you know? Jeff the Killer? Oh, we should do Jeff the Killer. This story sucks ass. Not Jeff Skiller, who's apparently a white-collar criminal. Oh, he's the Enron guy. All right, well, anyway. Jeff the Killer is a creepypasta. All right. Jane the Killer, Homicidal Lou. Let's see. All right, so occupation serial killer. No shit. So the image that goes with this is probably one of the most common creepypasta images that exists. There's a lot of controversy around this image. The image is scary, man. It's weird, especially like middle of the night. You just see that scrolling along. I love the fucking status: alive, species, human, gender, male, hobby, murdering people to satisfy his bloodlust, stalking his next victim, goals, end as many lives as possible. Parentheses, ongoing. This is by his biography. Another goal here: kill his parents and brother. Oh, okay. Wow. I also have hobbies like Warhammer and playing music and painting. I haven't thought about murdering people to satisfy my bloodlust as a hobby. I recall the image being related to a woman who is cyberbullied so bad that she ended up committing suicide. It has nothing to do with the story aside from that image is involved somehow. Oh, what the fuck with this? Oh no. Oh Jesus. Oh God, someone does not know how to do website. Look at this website I found. Creepypasta.com. This is, I'm pretty sure not how to do a website. Anyway. I just want to read the story. Here we go. Alright, let's see. Okay. I think this is the original one. Jeff the Killer Creepypasta Story. Expert from a local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After a little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. I had a bad dream and I woke up in the middle of the night, says the boy. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, a little ray of light illuminated from between the curtains were two pairs of eyes. They weren't regular eyes. They were dark, ominous eyes, embroidered in black, and just plain terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth. A long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. A figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what it seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but it said in the way only a madman could speak. He said, "Go to sleep." I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled up a knife and aimed it at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought back. I kicked. I punched. I rolled around. I tried to knock him off me. That's when our dad busted in. The man threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if it hadn't been the neighbors who had the neighbors not alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. They dove into the parking lot. Okay. The man turned around and ran down the hallway, and I heard a smash like glass breaking as it came out of my room. I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I'll never forget his face. Why the fuck did the cops show up? Like, how'd the neighbors know? Cops immediately teleported to your location. Cops just coming in and telefragging like 4 people. Police's spawn point is at the end of the street. Also, how did the neighbors hear anything going on? They drove into a parking lot that ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hall and smashed... Okay. The town... Yeah, he heard a smash like glass breaking. I came out of the room. I saw a window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him vanish in the distance, and I can tell you one thing. I never will forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes. That psychotic smile. They'll never leave my head. Police are still looking for this man. How the fuck did you fuck that up? You have teleportation powers, cops. Police, neighbors are just like that. You heard some guy get a knife thrown into him on this other side of a closed window in a building across the parking lot. Which, by the way, parking lot in a house? What? What? Why the fuck do you have a parking lot? You have a house. No, it's not an apartment complex. It explicitly said house. Cops are shit wizards. Police are still on the lookout for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description of this story, please contact your local police department. If you see a guy with like just demonically evil looking eyes and a smile that just goes forever, you know, let someone know. This story was not written by a native English speaker. Oh, that does explain a lot. Okay. That explains a lot. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain. A new, better house. What's not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of the neighbors came by. Hello, she said. I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and introduce my son. She turned around to call her son over. Billy, these are your new neighbors. Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. Well, said Jeff's mom, I'm Margaret, and this is my husband, Peter, and my 2 sons, Jeff and Lou. They introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them over to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said they'd love to. When Jeff and his family were done unpacking, I would guess, is what they meant. Jeff went up to his mom. Mom, why'd you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid. Jeff, said his mother. Yeah, you are. No, that's not what it says here. It says, we just moved here, and we should show that we want to spend some time with our neighbors. Now, we're going to that party, and that's final. Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something was final, he walked... Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there looking at the ceiling when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much as a pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked back down to it. The next day, What the fuck was that? The next day, Jeff walked downstairs to get breakfast and get ready for school. As he sat there eating breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain. But once again he dismissed it. And then he and Lou finished breakfast. I think that's right. And they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then all of a sudden, some kids on skateboards jumped over them, only inches above their laps. Okay. They both jumped back in surprise. Hey, what the hell? It's a hell of a... I mean, I know it's just over... Yeah, that's fucking sick. Fuck yeah. The kids landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it directly in his face. I mean, his hands. The kid seemed to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropastel shirt and ripped blue jeans. Oh, you know he's a dick because he's wearing Aeropastel. Well, it looks like we got some new meat, says the comically villainous bully. Suddenly, 2 other kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other was huge. Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith. Jeff and Lou looked over to the skinny kid. He's a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. And he's Troy. They looked over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. He just fucking did a sick ollie. Like, he did, like, fucking hell. This kid's great. He's a chunky kid, but he can fucking ollie over another child. Like, don't give me that he's fucking never exercised. Kid's a fucking badass. These kids are so much cooler than Jeff. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. And I, said the first kid, am Randy. Now, all the kids in the neighborhood, there's a small prize for bus fare, if you catch my drift. Lou stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid, when one of his friends pulled out a knife on him. I hoped that you'd be more cooperative, but it seems like we gotta do this the hard way. This is a fucking 12-year-old? Damn! I didn't start pulling knives on people until I got much older than that. Fucking hell. The kid walked up to Lou and took out his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong. A burning sensation. He stood up, and Lou gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else. Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. Oh, what will you do? Just as he finished that sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. Randy screamed and Jeff grabbed the knife in his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground and Keith lashed out at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff pulled a fucking John Wick because he didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the face, into the stomach, and he went down, and he fell, and he puked all over Lou, and he could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. A fucking 13-year-old just bodied 3 12-year-olds. So they're getting mugged by 12-year-olds, and then Jeff just goes apeshit on them. That's amazing. Jeff, how'd you... was all he said. They saw the bus coming and knew they'd be blamed for the whole thing. For stabbing children? Yes, you will be blamed for that, because you did that. So they started running as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Lou made it to school, they didn't even dare tell what happened. They just sat there and listened. Lou just thought that his brother was beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew more. It was something scary. He got a feeling he somehow he also got that feeling he also got that feeling he felt how powerful it was, the urge to just hurt someone. Okay. Yeah, if someone stabs you, you get to keep the knife. That's the way it works in America, at least. I don't know. They essentially handed it to you. They just just hand it to you. Wrong. You can hand things to people wrong. Did you know if you hand someone something, even if you don't know them, they'll fucking take it? It probably doesn't work anymore now that people are trying to socially distance. But if you just pick something up and hand it to someone, they'll take it. It's fucking weird. Really funny though. In the UK, you get patched up for free if you get stabbed. Okay, mister, we have socialized healthcare, and if you get hurt, something will be done about it, and you won't dive into desperation and be bankrupted. You want to go fucking brag about more nice shit you have? Gah! Anyway, where are we? He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help but feel happy. He felt strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school. Even as he walked home, due to the whole thing near the bus stop and how he probably wouldn't be able to be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Next morning, he heard a knock on the front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at their door. These cops suck. They took an entire day to figure out where to go. They didn't just teleport here like at the beginning of the story. His mother looked back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids. That wasn't regular fighting. They were stabbed." "Stabbed, son." Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Lou." "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach. We have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. Cops are fucking corrupt, my dude, he thought to himself. It doesn't say that. He could say him and Lou had been attacked, but there was no proof that it was not them who attacked first. So there were 3 knives and 3 kids. And why the fuck would they bring an extra knife? Imagine if you're going to mug some random kid, right? You're going to bring 1 knife per person, right? Also, they didn't even mention the fact that he broke that kid's arm. Do you think cops have any fucking brain cells? These are teleporting cops. Well, these are the shit cops that show up the next day. So maybe not. But, teleporting cops should know what the fuck is up. They couldn't say they were fleeing because, truth be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself or Lou. "Son, call down your brother." Jeff couldn't do it, since it was him who beat up the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up the kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." The cop looked at his partner, and they both nodded. "Well, kid, looks like you got a year in juvie." "Wait!" said Lou. They all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officer pulled their guns and locked them onto Lou. "It was me." This is a 13-year-old. "It was me. I beat up those punks. I have the marks to prove it." He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he was in a struggle. "Son, put down the knife," said the officer. Lou held up the knife and dropped it on the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. "No, Lou, it was me. I did it." Jeff had tears running down his face. "Poor bro. Trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away." The police led Lou out to the... Well, that solved that. So, anyway, I guess we don't need to bother looking into this at all. Most realistic part of the story, the cops pull a gun on the kid. The most realistic part of the story is that the cops did not bother to do any investigation here. They were just like, well, that's that. He admitted to it. Good investigation. Didn't even be like, which one of these kids was it that's fucking stabbed you and broke your arm? Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Lou. You can stop. Jeff watched helplessly as the cops sped off with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled up into the driveway. Seeing Jeff's face, he knew something was wrong. Son, what is it? Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked to his father inside to break the bad news to him. Well, you see, our son is fucking rad as shit. He stabbed like 3 kids. Fucking awesome. Our kid rules. We weren't treated like this kid fucking owns. Anyway, the cops came by and they arrested him. And now we got to deal with just Jeff, who's just crying like a little bitch. Fuck. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were both shocked and sad and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how couldn't see how they thought of Lou when it was his fault. He just went to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days went by, and no word from Lou at JDC. No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. It wasn't until Saturday, when Jeff was woken up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face. Jeff, it's the day, she said as she opened up the curtains and let the light flood into his room. What's the day? Asked Jeff as he stirred awake. Why, it's Billy's party. He was now fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after... There was a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. Your brother's cooler than you, and honestly, you need to get some fucking street cred. So at this party, I want you to fucking body the biggest kid there. Like, this is like prison. You gotta get your name out there, and you gotta be known as being tough. I want you to fucking deck that kid. I won't be raising any weak-ass son. Rosaphile, thank you for the 14 months of support. I donated blood today and almost passed out. Good for you for donating blood. I haven't done that in a while, and I feel like an asshole for doing it, because I got that universal donor thing going on. So but good for you. Fuck yeah. I think the party could do some things to brighten up those past days. Now get dressed. Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get herself ready. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father dressed up. His mother in a dress, his father in a suit. He thought, why would they wear such fancy clothes to a kid's birthday party? Son, is that all you're going to wear? Said Jeff's mom. Better than wearing too much, he said. His mother hushed down his feelings to yell at him and hit it with a smile. Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but that's how you have to go if you want to be swag, said the father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. I don't have any swag clothes, he yelled downstairs. I'm changing fancy to swag. Just pick out something, called his mother. He looked around his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looked around and only found striped and patterned shirts. None would go with the dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie to put on. All right. You're wearing that? That's your drip for the day? They both said. His mother looked at her watch. No time to change. A hoodie just takes too long to figure out. God, let's just go. Hoodies are well known for being impossible to remove once they're on. She herded Jeff and his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door and it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, was way overdressed. Why the fuck are they dressed up? That's a good fucking point from Jeff. As they all walked inside, Jeff could see all were adults, no kids. The kids are out in the yard, Jeff. How about you go meet some of them, said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They're running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. With real guns. It was a fucking bloodbath. They might as well be standing on a Toys R Us. The kid suddenly came up to him and handed him a toy gun and a hat. Hey, wanna play? He said. Nah, no kid, I'm way too old for this stuff. The kid looked at him with a weird puppy dog face. Please? Said the kid. Fine, said Jeff. It's actually got the W's. He just put on the hat and started to pretend to shoot kids. At first he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he actually started to have fun. It might not be super cool, but the first time he had done something that took his mind off of Lou, so he just did violence. He played with the kids for a while until he heard a noise, a weird rolling sound. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, Keith, all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. Fuck yes! Holy shit, that was rad! What? Holy shit! These kids own! What? What? That is fucking awesome! How the fuck did they do that? They got knives? They mug kids? They can leap a fence with a skateboard. And even after they got stabbed and had their arm broken. Holy shit. That's awesome. Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with burning hatred. Hello, Jeff, is it? He said. We have some unfinished business. Jeff saw his bruised nose. I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you and you got my brother sent to JDC. Randy got an angry look in his eyes. Oh, no, I don't think we're even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today, he said. And Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff rushed Randy off of him, and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming, and their parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets. What the fuck is with these kids? Holy shit. Why isn't the story about them? Absolute fucking gangsters. These 12-year-olds are fucking running around with guns and knives and skateboarding. These kids are balling. These kids are cooler than me. They're cooler than all of us. These kids are fucking awesome. No one interrupts or guts will fly, they said, as Randy pulled out a knife on Jeff and stabbed him in the shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabbed his foot and twisted, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back door. Troy tried to grab him. Need some help? He picked Jeff up by the back collar and throws him against the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he's kicked to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts coughing up blood. Come on, Jeff, fight me. He picks up Jeff and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head. Fight! He throws Jeff back into the living room. Oh, come on, Jeff, look at me. Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. I'm the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and are you just going to sit here and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed. Jeff started to get up. Oh, finally you stand and fight. Jeff is now on his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again, he gets that strange feeling, the one where he hasn't felt in a while. Finally, he's up, says Randy as he runs at Jeff, and that's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him into the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. What? Who had a gun? Like, did this guy just... Randy pulls a knife on Jeff. Troy and Keith have guns. Okay. So Randy's dead. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. As Randy gasps for breath, Jeff hammers down on him. Punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. Everyone's looking at Jeff now. The parents and the kids are crying. Even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him. And he runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him. Each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith falling behind as they let out their final rounds of bullets as Jeff ducks into the bathroom. They suck at shooting. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack over Troy's face. His heart stops. He goes dead. No. Troy goes down hard, and all that's left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though. He ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He drops the knife and grabs Jeff by the neck. He pushes him into the wall. A thing of bleach fell on top of him from the top shelf. It's burnt both of them, and they both start to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it into Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. "What's so funny?" he asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. "What's funny," he said, "is you're covered in bleach and alcohol." "Oh no." Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter on him. Keith has a fucking lighter. He's fucking rad. Keith is fucking rad. Keith lives by fucking mob rule. Like, they came into that place to fuck up that party. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol and the vodka. And while the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. So, here's the thing. Alcohol needs to be of a certain proof to be flammable. Is vodka that proof? %40 alcohol. Okay. $80 proof or above will light. Okay, so yeah, 40% is 80 proof. Alcohol that has more than a 50% 100 proof will light easier. Proof is double whatever the percentage is, by the way. And it's a hearkening back to like sailors and pirates. All right. Anyway, ignited the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach burned his skin, and Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught fire. He tried to roll out, but it was no use. The alcohol made him a walking inferno. He walked down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everybody started screaming when they saw Jeff now, a man on fire, a child on fire. He's literally 13. This has been established. Drops to the ground, nearly dead. No one was screaming from the gunfire. No one freaked out about the gun thing. No one freaked out about a kid literally being punched in the heart so hard he died. But, see a kid on fire, and that's when shit's like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, this is fucking bad, isn't it? The parents were in the room when the guns were fired. They started, that fight was in the living room or whatever. Right next to the parents. In the house. How did no one notice this? The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and other parents trying to extinguish the flame. That's when he passed out. When Jeff woke, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was a tube in his arm. When he tried to get up, it fell out, and a nurse rushed in. I don't think you can get out of bed yet, she said as she put him back in bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff just sat there, no vision, no idea what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, she heard his mother. Shit fucking parents for not being there? What the hell? Why not just stay in the fucking room with him? What? Your kid got fucking attacked. Your kid got shot at, stabbed, bleached, and set on fire. And you're like, we'll drive him to the hospital and this fucking, I got this work thing. This fucking, we could play Monopoly. Honey, are you okay? She asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though his face was covered. He was unable to speak. Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed to trying to attack you. Isn't Randy dead? Punch caused Randy's heart to stop. As Randy... Oh, no. After the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed to trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go. Okay. Right. He was screaming that at one point, right? I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC. Okay. I forgot about that. I was a little confused there for a minute. This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube in his arm. He'll be out by tomorrow. Why didn't you just let him out immediately? What the fuck? Then the two of you will be together again. He literally didn't do anything, and these cops suck and need to be fired. Jeff's mother hugs Jeff and says her goodbyes. The next couple of weeks were Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family members were all there to see it. What he would look like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. How the fuck did he eat for the past week? They waited until the last bandage covering over his face was removed. So for the best, said the doctor. He quickly pulls the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. And his mother screams at the sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad are all struck at his face. What happened to my face? Jeff said. He rushed out of the bed and ran to the bedroom. He looked in the mirror and saw what he saw was a cause of distress. His face was beautiful. It was horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red. His face was turned a pure color of white. His hair was singed black to brown. He slowly put his hand to his face. It had a sort of leathery feel now. He looked back at his family and then at the mirror. Jeff, said Lou, it's not that bad. Not bad, said Jeff. It's perfect. His family was equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff, are you okay? Okay. I've never felt more happy. Look at me! My face goes perfectly with me. He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking in the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall that Jeff was fighting Randy. Something in his mind, insanity, snapped. And now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know. Doctor, said Jeff's mom, is my son all right? You know, in the head? Oh, yes. This behavior is typical for patients who have taken a large amount of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here and we'll give him a psychological test. Why does everyone suck at their fucking job? Everyone fucking sucks. What? Oh, thank you, doctor. Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go. Jeff looked away from the mirror. His face still formed into a crazy smile. "'Kay, mommy." His mother took him by the shoulder to get him his clothes. This is what came in, said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress pants and the white hoodie his son wore. Now we're both clean of blood and stitched together. Isn't that evidence? Why didn't you bring new clothes for your son? That might be something, like, kind of fucked up for him to see. Like, it might be, like, triggering for him to see, like... Also, isn't that police evidence? Also, what? 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 They were now clean and the blood and now stitched together. Jeff's mother, why did they take it off of him, just like slip it off of him? I thought hoodies were impossible to remove. Like, wouldn't they have cut the hoodie off of him because it would have been too much of a bitch to try and get over his shoulder because he got stabbed in the fucking shoulder and was on fire? He was on fire. Just buy him new clothes. These clothes were on fire and stabbed and bloodied. What the fuck is wrong with everyone in this story? Like, literally give this kid new clothes. What? You didn't have any at home? He had another outfit. A shirt and jeans. We know this. It was previously established. He has one other pair of clothes in the very least. What is wrong with them? Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put his clothes on. They left, not knowing that was their final day of their life. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke to the sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded like someone was crying. She walked over to see what it was. You didn't even go to fucking McDonald's or something? You go to fucking McDonald's after that shit. You go, look, things have been hard. You probably haven't been eating well. We're going to go to McDonald's. We're going to fucking get you a Happy Meal. You want a Happy Meal, kid? You want to go to Subway? You want to go to Jack in the Box? No one wants to go to Subway. You want to go somewhere fun? Like, where do you want to go? You want to go to Mickey D's? We got that. That's what you do for a kid after they fucking get stabbed, shot at, and set on fire. You know? That's the fucking bare minimum parenting right there. I had a bad breakup once, and my mom took me to Panda Express. Okay? That's because I liked Panda Express. That's like parenting 101. Kid has an exceptionally shitty day. You take them to a place that they would... Yeah, my mom is fucking rad. Side note. I love my mom. These parents suck. It sounded as if someone was crying. She walked over to see what it was. She looked into the bathroom and saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken out a knife, and he carved a smile onto his cheeks. Jeff? What are you doing? Asked his mother. Jeff looked over at his mother. I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while, but now I can smile forever. Jeff's mother noticed his eyes, ringed in black. Jeff, your eyes! His eyes were seemingly never closing. I couldn't see my face, and I got tired, and my eyes started to close. I burnt my eyelids so I could see myself forever, my new face. Okay. Jeff's mother slowly started backing away, seeing her son was going insane. What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful? Yes, son, she said. Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy so he can see your face. She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. Honey, get the gun. She stopped when she saw Jeff in the doorway holding a knife. Mommy, you lied. That's the last thing they hear as Jeff rushes them with a knife, gutting them both. His brother Lou woke up, startled to hear some noise. He didn't hear anything, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he had the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He was slowly raising the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou. Lou thrashed around here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. Shh, said Jeff. Go to sleep. And that's the story. So anyway, like I said, this story fucking sucks. But I think the moral of this story is, Ryan, right? Randy and his friends are fucking rad. He didn't even bring a knife to the gunfight. He stole a knife from someone else. Randy and co are fucking awesome. They leaped a fucking fence. I love the part when someone got punched in the stomach or chest and died. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think a 13-year-old has the physical strength to just punch someone so hard their heart stops. Like, that is some Mortal Kombat shit. That is some Fist of the North Star shit. Like, how do you do that? I think a 13-year-old might have, yeah. I think, okay, listen, if you're like a bodybuilder and you punch the fuck out of a 12-year-old, I think you could probably, like, fuck up his heart. Sure, I'd believe that. I don't know things. Like, that works. I believe that. I think I could punch an old lady in the chest so hard her heart stops. I won't do that because I'm not fucking evil. But, you know, I think I could. Can we test that theory? No, that's illegal. And immoral. And just kind of shitty. It's kind of shitty to just punch people so hard they die. There's several reasons why I wouldn't do that. There's 3. I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head, but there's 3 right there. It's illegal, immoral, and shitty. It would be rad as fuck. Okay, that's one reason to go for it. Anyway, Jeff the Killer is a classic. It is like a required early creepypasta reading. My wife would be disappointed. Who Is Phone? We read Who Is Phone. It is certainly the most fucking story I've read recently. Hook Hand Cardor. Why is Jeff the Killer so popular? Publisher's note. According to the character's original creator, Sessler, he's not the author of the tale featured here. He claims that the popular version of the Jeff story is fan fiction, written by a follower of his earlier work, which has since been lost. For the original story of Jeffrey Huddick, per the vision of the character's original creator, you can visit Sessler's DeviantArt post here. Been drowned. I think we gotta do been drowned. Oh, hey, Limes. Thank you for the raid. We're reading Creepypasta. We just got done reading Jeff the Killer, which is quite possibly one of the worst creepypastas out there. We're gonna have to read Been Drowned. I wanted to read some like really solid ones. I Hate You. Okay. I Hate You Creepypasta. What were you streaming, Limes? It looks like it's a video. I don't think that this is a story. It was too hot to play video games. I cry. For Been Drowned, you need to be able to show the YouTube videos. Oh, right. It's like an ARG, isn't it? Oh, no. I'm so sorry, Wolfman. I think I might do the Necromunda thing again. It sucked. That game, it is a spiritual successor to I Divine Cybermancy, but it misses the mark quite a bit. But thank you for doing that. Oh, okay, here we go. I'm gonna read this one. I'm not even gonna tell you what this one is. After waking up with a jolt, the girl laid in bed for a few seconds longer, reaching over to switch on her bedside lamp. She had tried to remember exactly what had stolen her away from her sweet slumber away. When she couldn't, the brunette swung her legs over the side of the bed and heaved herself up, checking the time on her phone. She snorted when she saw it was midnight, the witching hour. Knowing that sleep would only evade her, she left her bedroom for the kitchen. A good cup of coffee on her mind. As she passed by the front door, a chill spread like liquid fire down her spine. It's only winter, she told herself. Focusing again on the coffee plant, measuring out scoops in water, preparing her cup kept her occupied. But as the dark liquid boiled, she had nothing left to keep her mind from wandering off. The chill returned, and she couldn't help but glance behind her to the front door. It stood there, innocently enough, just like always. The deadbolt was still in place, and she could see nothing amiss with it. Turning back to her coffee, she did her best to forget the feeling. With cuppa in hand, she started back towards her bedroom. At midnight coffee? What? As she walked by the front door, she decided to take a quick glance at the peephole. It would help calm her restless mind. The chill worsened with each step as she took towards the front door and further away from the safety and warmth of her blankets. She pressed her empty hand against the cold metal door and took a deep breath before leading her eye into the peephole. At first, she could only see inky blackness, somehow seeming to swirl in itself. When she blinked in surprise, the void melted away, which she wished it hadn't. In its place, there stood what she could only guess was once a man. Its limbs were long and humanly awkward, with bulky joints branching off into several arms, not unlike branches of a tree. The creature itself was draped in a black suit, somehow making the thing more nightmarish to her. The icing on the proverbial K cover was what passed as the hellish thing's face. It was as though her mind blurred the ghastly visage to spare herself further shock and horror. She shoved herself away from the door, with her hand still pressed up against it. The scalding mug of coffee fell, the liquid burning her bare legs as she fell backward and tried to crawl away from the door. She knew somehow that in her mind hadn't been trying tricks on her. As she crab walked away from the door, funny as fuck, she watched tendrils as black as the void she first saw snake around through the cracks. The girl was trapped between the instinct to flee and the gut feeling to not turn her back on the door. When the door jolted, the urge to flee overcame her and she slipped in the burning liquid. As she tried to make it back to her room, she knew deep down she was trapping herself into a corner, but she had to get away from the door. The girl was halfway down the hall when she heard the previously locked door creak open. She screamed and slipped into a wall, cracking her chin on it and stunning her. After that, there's only blackness. Nicole? A warm male voice snapped the woman out of her trance. As she turned around, she was met by one of her sister's doctors. She nodded, not sure if she should say anything, or even if she could find her voice. If she had something to say. That morning, she had gotten an urgent phone call from the hospital saying that her sister, Lindsay, was there. What? Before they even let her see her, the doctors had pulled her off to the side and insisted that they talk to her about what might have happened. Phrases like self-inflicted and assault had been thrown around, and Nicole felt her mind reel. She still hadn't fully understood what they were trying to say until she saw Lindsay. What? No, not Lindsay. 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 Chat's like trying to correct me on like what I'm saying. It's pronounced Lindsay. Really? What the fuck? I've never seen that spelled like that. As an alternate spelling of Lindsay. What? What? Really? I know it was a Photoshop contest. I'm just saying like this is like a creepypasta, so I'm reading it. Her sister had bandages wrapped around her head, covering both her ears as well as her eyes. They said it was to keep her now deadened eyes from drying out and to keep her infection out of her wounds. Lindsay had her made to her ears. The doctors guessed that either she or someone else had jammed a pencil into them to keep her off balance or to deafen herself against something. There's a mix of first and second degree burns on her hands, feet, and it was assumed that the must be the coffee that her neighbors found slipped all over the entry to her apartment. As Nicole walked into her sister's hospital room for the first time, she thought she spied the silhouette of a man in the window. That, she knew, was impossible. Her sister's room was on the 3rd story of the hospital. Anyway, here's the Slenderman pictures. Some classics. There he is in the background. There he is. It's good. It's good. What was it called? What's the name of that series that had Slenderman in it? It started with a C. Does anyone remember? It's not Candle Cove. Marble Hornets. What the fuck? Yeah, it was Marble Hornets. Marble Hornets was good up until they kind of like went on for a little too long. But the first bit of it's pretty good. I remember it being good. It might actually be shit. But it was like the first time I had seen something like that. Like, just wild, man. Just wild. Okay. So, how does one read I Hate You? The creepypasta. It looks like it's a YouTube video. I hate you. Oh, there we go. The worst pastas. Oh, shit. We're going for real shitty ones today. Thank you for the link, Starstruck sunshine. I hate you, Mario Creepypasta. This isn't one of those haunted game stories. At no point are you going to hear me claim that something with a game spoke to me, reacted to my words, or forced me to punch myself in the face repeatedly. No, this isn't about a haunted game, or a game doing something impossible, or even something it shouldn't have. This isn't about a glitchy or hidden satanic message, and at no time did I phone Nintendo headquarters only to have my questions answered in hushed whispers and anguished screams. This story is about a game feature I don't think anyone else has unlocked. That's it. No ghosts, no conspiracies, just a secret we were all supposed to meant to find, but never did. Something that changes an entire generation's childhood with the very instance of a multi-billion franchise. This is about what I assumed to be previously an undiscovered alternate ending to Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. In 1996, I received my first computer as a birthday gift. I'd been on the internet before. I'd used computers before, but I'd always been in a school or at a friend's house. This one was mine. All mine. I explored crude, prehistoric web of the time with great interest. I downloaded all sorts of pornography, and I even printed it out, which made absolutely no sense. I pirated media like a madman. Music, games, anything. This is when I first discovered Mario World. I never had a Super Nintendo as a kid, so it was new to me. I downloaded tons of games along with an SNES emulator, but Mario World was my favorite. For over a decade, the same Mario World ROM was my time-wasting hobby. I played it over and over again, beating the game faster and faster until I became too lazy to explore the worlds with no particular purpose. Game Genie codes helped me out immensely. I could turn off the timer and just relive the particularly entertaining map for an hour as I waited for a download or any number of boring events. What? Just jerk off your printed out porn, my dude. What? It was in this manner that I must have beaten and rebitten the game thousands upon thousands of times. There's comfort in the obsessive-compulsive behavior of this routine, but that was all shattered when I saw the Blind Boo. The Blind Boo, as I refer to it, was hovering over the exit of the haunted sunken ship later in the game. I call it blind because it actually had no visible eyes. It was like someone had made a lazy ROM hack, but knew from years upon experience that this was a normal game. The Blind Boo just hung there over the exit pipe, blocking it. I turned my back on it. It didn't chase me. How could it? It didn't even see me. And then I noticed something else out of sorts. There was a key and a keyhole misplaced above the exit. The keys and the keyholes are ways of ending a level with an alternate manner and discovering a secret area. Still, this didn't belong there, and I knew it. For a moment, I considered the fact that I'd actually broken a ROM file from overuse. After taking a screenshot specifically to show all of you Mario Bros fans out there, I picked up a key and opened the door. I figured the game would seize up and have to restart. Instead, it opened a new path on the map selection screen. A whirlpool next to Bowser's already creepy-headed cave thing. I pressed the right arrow and moved onto the whirling train. Oh god, no. This didn't strike me as odd, because if you're familiar with the Mario World games, there's an area called Star Road that had similar names. Stuff like Tubular and Awesome and all dumb words and phrases. Most of the areas were called Vanilla Forest 1 and Donut Mountain 3 and all that. But there were maps with odd names like that. What did concern me, though, was Mario's expression. Surprise? Shock? Fear? I don't have pictures yet. I entered the map. Oddly enough, the whirlpool in the middle of the lake began with the standard castle entry animation. Mario walked up to the castle door, looked up, and then went in. I could tell it was underwater, though, because of the bubbles that periodically emerged from the sprite's mouth and floated on top of the screen. Inside the castle, it started to look like more and more like I was, in fact, experiencing a glitch. There was no room to jump, no room to do anything but run left and right. Must have gone right for 10 to 20 minutes, just holding the B button down and running at full speed. But after a while, I ran into 1 or 2 blind boos in the darkness above. And then 3 or 4. Then the screen was full of them. They all just kind of hung there and doing nothing. They wouldn't chase me if I turned my back. As with the previous blind boo, if I made any noise, like a Mario jump sound, they would all just kind of shudder a bit. Like they heard the sound of Mario's movement, but couldn't do anything about it. Why would you do that why would you expect this to be anything other than a hacked ROM? Like, shit. Also, you used a whole bunch of Game Genie cheats on you. You might have fucked it up. Now I know from beyond a shadow of a doubt. Oh, wait, hold up. Then something made me stop and turn the other way. Now I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that this map was designed specifically to screw with the player. Not because of the giant bleeding bill that was hemorrhaging profusely from its face, but because it was inescapable. There was literally no way to avoid being killed by it. As you can clearly see above. That is, unless if you were like me and had Game Genie cheats on hand. I switched in the code for permanent invincibility. I let the bleeding bill chase me for a while when I was invincible, just to get a good look at the thing. Then I stopped, and I killed it with my invulnerable touch. Only when I saw the message that hadn't been there when I had passed before. I hate you. That kind of creeped me out, but on the other hand, it's kind of interesting because the bleeding bullet build. Okay, it meant that the map was supposed to exist. There's like some sort of plot element here, something undiscovered. What did it mean? Who hated me? King Koopa seemed to be the obvious answer. Maybe it's a ghost. When you're a haunted castle, you're found by way of haunted ship, and a bloody-looking hate message isn't so unbelievable. I think there was blood on the bullet bill, not that it was bleeding. So there's that. I saw it again as I approached the giant boos. I was thankful that the blind boos ended at this point, because the more I watched them shudder, the uneasier I felt. An empathetic feel towards, oh my god, this is long. Thankfulness ended when I turned my back on the giant boo. This happened. The boos with faces I hadn't seen before. They always looked mad at being awakened, angry that you were invading their haunted house across the Mario World Island. This is different. They look gleeful, demented. I could see right down their throats, which seemed odd considering the lack of detail in their mouths usually displayed. And yes, of course, I'm going to address the message I saw in the picture. Why won't you die? I don't know. Why? Am I supposed to? Who's asking? I let the giant boo touch me, and then I died. And they died like bleeding bills, which I had encountered too, despite any attempt to scare the player. I knew that being invincible meant being invincible no matter what they threw at me. After a while, running down this strange claustrophobic corridor with no more eventful happenings, I came across a room with an exit pipe. Taking the pipe downward, I came out the other end and dropped into a room filled with water. The water made sense, being a sunken castle beneath the whirlpool and all. I was rewarded for my troubles with a question mark block that released a mushroom for me. I could have easily done this with a cheat code, but the thought escaped me as I faced all these new strange sights. What? Why? Why would you have done that with a cheat code? What? Someone has already made this hack, just as an aside. Like, I saw it as a thing. Okay. First creature I encountered in the underwater portion of the castle were Where? Yes, it says where. Okay. Where Thwomps. Unless you've been living under a rock since the mid-'80s, you know Thwomps are the stone-like square creatures that hang from the ceiling and fall whenever you come near. They try and crush you, essentially. Well, these Thwomps, lined up in a tight row, dropped repeatedly and randomly with no real trigger or sense of logic. They could just wait or drop whenever they seemed to feel like it. It's almost like these Thwomps had been very successful Thwomps. It almost looked like these Thwomps had been very successful Thwomps. More cartoony blood. It's getting pretty unusual for a Mario Brothers franchise. I haven't actually recalled seeing blood in it at all. Now I'd seen it 3 times. Bloody bills, messages that are perpetually smashing and grinding thwomps that who are working their victims into pulp forever. What's your opinion on boner culture? Yeah? That's the question? Okay. This game's kind of getting weird. What is boner culture? Isn't that just you getting a boner? How is that culture? I don't want to look up boner culture. You're going to have to explain yourself. I have no opinion of boner culture. It's a mic. Okay. In hampering effects of the water, I walked slowly under these things, making sure every single one touched me and died. There was almost 30 of them in a row. You have no fucking life, main character. The sight of them mindlessly crushing over and over again just made me hate them with unsettling intensity. What is weird is the blood caused Mario to slide as if he was on an ice level. After walking through the gauntlet of depravity, I swam into a more open area that was filled with spikes on the floor and the ceiling. It was difficult to swim in this manner without touching the spikes, but since I was still invincible, I didn't think much of it. I avoided them more for fun than any sense I'd be damaged. It stopped being fun real fast, though. Now, I know some of what's going on. The bloody mess with the thwomps, unendingly splattering, and the other Marios, past Marios that had been trying to traverse the level and failed. Okay. I have to admit that was an excellent touch, even a bit ghoulish. Whoever designed this map had clearly broken the fourth wall to show you the bloated, motionless abortions of the player's own carcass treatment of the tiny Mario's tiny life. The bodies only slightly floated up, straight up and down a tiny bit, to show the effects of the light current. It was genius. I couldn't believe I might be the first and only person to see this. I toyed with the idea of taking more than one screenshot I just presented you. Basically, so all of you reading this could enjoy the secret map as much as I had. Except, especially this weird little touch. But, without swimming, without kicking or moving any, the dead Marios started to come at me like torpedoes. Their faces remained blank and blue and dead, and they moved with astonishing speed. They angled and positioned and worked all sorts of unique trajectories and left me with almost nowhere to move. They continued coming at me and swarming me, and backing up and trying again. I couldn't just bring myself to let them touch me. I moved with more and more speed and skill than I'd ever exerted, frantically trying to keep these Marios free of the drowning victims that seemed dead set on rocketing straight into him. Thank you. And thank you for the 100 bits, corruption. For reading shitty creepypasta, I guess, today. When I finally reached the purple exit pipe you see above, there had been 10 of those things right behind, pitching, turning, chasing me. I entered the pipe as fast as I could, thankful that it worked properly and had Mario out of the situation in a heartbeat. The corridor that followed was empty, and thankfully it was just a blue underwater hallway of sorts, with nothing to avoid or kill. It was just boring and predictable like the rest of the game, like the game had been all these years. It brought back a sense of safety. At the end of the hallway came a standard pair of doors you'd enter to find a final boss. Besides the doorway, a mushroom power-up. I didn't touch that shit. I love this. I love every bit of this. It's so shit. Going through the door was what you'd expect. A typical change of map views occurred. Mario was standing on the ubiquitous bridge over boiling water. Or had it been blood all along? When Mario walked onto the bridge, however, there was no boss creature. Instead, Mario immediately looked to the side and froze. You couldn't control him anymore. He just stood there, kept looking at you until you see it. I didn't see it at first, so I didn't expect you to notice it right away. But if you haven't spotted the thing, look at the third window from the left. For your information, it's not usually there. Mario seemed to regain composure. What? How would it know that you saw? What? Mario seemed to regain his composure and looked back forth slowly, surveying the room. There was still no boss, and I couldn't control him, so I just stopped trying and just watched him. This went on and on for what seemed like forever. Nothing happened. Then a familiar face walked in from the right, dressed in green, tall and angry. It was Luigi. Mario recoiled in horror. It's difficult to say that without thinking of how crazy it sounds, but Mario really reeled back with a sort of terror that was so uncharacteristic for such a happy-go-lucky mascot like him. Then Luigi spoke. And then it was all connecting now. The message is scrawled on the walls. I hate you. Why won't you die? Luigi. Who's always been Mario's second banana. The player too. The one that doesn't get the princess in the early games. No matter how identical he is to Mario in skill set, ability and tenacity and bravery. At the end of the day, it's Super Mario Brothers. But he's just the brother. How he must have hated Mario. Who among us wouldn't? Think about it. No matter what happens, Mario always comes back. No matter how many corpses he leaves littering the battlefield. He's always there once more to leap and cheer and get all of the adoration. And Koopa hadn't worked alone. I didn't know what that meant, if anything. But again, if you just have to think about it, how exactly does King Koopa consistently succeed in kidnapping the princess? Because they're dating. Princess Peach and Bowser are dating. Mario is a cuck. She's getting that fucking, like, she doesn't want, like, Mario's mini mushroom. From day one, the original Mario Brothers onward, it always seemed like an inside job. Still, unable to control characters, I watched Mario simply cower and feel as Luigi leapt high into the air, as high as he could in Mario 2, the bastard child of the franchise. He jumped on the pathetic weeping Mario again and again and again. I was powerless to stop it. When he was done, he seemingly looked at Mario's limp body with overwhelming rage. Then the bridge started to disappear, and soon Mario would be dead. As I looked, I had an irrational thought. Would it be permanent? Would it be permanent? Okay. Yeah. Just gonna... That's what it says. Not would it be permanent. Would it be permanent? Within an instant, as Luigi turned to seemingly strike a victory pose, like he had beaten the level, Mario awkwardly got to his feet and took him by surprise. Fear and sadness and confusion had given way to anger. Mario overpowered his brother with little effort. To this day, I'm still haunted by the final result of his wrathful reprisal. There was a map title. None of this was a glitch. None of it was a mistake. It's a developer getting back at Nintendo. And wasn't a ghost. It wasn't a developer getting back at Nintendo. It wasn't a ghost haunting the Nintendo cartridge. It was planned. A purposeful part of the Mario Brother mythos. If you beat the same level X number of times, a secret part of the world opened. And you learned from Mario Brothers to Mario Land, Luigi had secretly been working against you with the fact that, and in fact, facilitated the repeating abduction and abuse of the princess. But why? Money? Power? No, it was all there. Because he couldn't take not being the one in the spotlight, not being Mario himself. After Luigi died, well, and truly died, Mario just sat on the edge of the bridge and wept. I was forced to watch this for minutes on end, and then the screen faded to black. I played the rest of the game just to see if anything else changed. Nothing else odd happened, as one would expect since this whole ordeal was supposed to be a part of the original full story. I couldn't access the whirlpool again. I'd seen the events once, and that was all apparently I was allowed. It was back to the game as usual. The same game I played since the 90s, and probably would play for the rest of my days. Well, I was, except for the final image. Oh my god. Now what I'm about to show you is shocking. So if you are meek of heart, if you have a Randy heart, where if someone just punched you in the chest and you die instantly, you might want to turn away. Okay, I'm going to show it now. Oh my god. Oh no. Luigi's fucking dead. And Luigi's fucking dead. Does it have any of the pictures on this website? Like, I haven't seen any of the pictures. I would love to see the pictures, because it's... I hate you, Mario Creepypasta. I gotta find pictures of this, because, like, holy shit. Images. Oh my god, there's so much fan art. I can't find the images. Have I played any Dicey Dungeons off stream? No. Been playing mostly Fights in Tight Spaces, that way I can get good. You linked the OG Creepypasta. Okay, let me scroll back up and find it. Here it is. Oh, here we go. Oh, here it is. Hold up. All right. Okay, all right. We're going to look through these pictures. I'm sorry we skipped the pictures, but... so here's the Boo with the no eyes thing, which was impossible to edit. There's no way you could edit that. It's too fucking... Wow. You got the creepy castle with the whirlpool, and then it's... Oh, God, no. Oh, it's so good. The endless hallway that he ran for 10 to 20 minutes. And the eyeless Boos. And the bleeding. Oh, that's pretty rad, actually. It's kind of cool looking. Bleeding eye thing. I hate you. It's good. Oh, and you can see all the way down their throats. It's interesting. And then the bloody sprite work's pretty well done. You got all these dead Marios, right? And they start chasing him. I didn't touch that shit. Yeah, no, you wouldn't. What the fuck is that? That's weird. And then the third window. I couldn't control him anymore. He just stood there. Keep looking until you see it. Man, I would never fucking find it. What? And then Luigi spoke. Oh, it actually says this on screen. You thought Koopa worked alone? I love the idea of Luigi just like bullying the shit out of Mario. And then it's got that fucking like animation like from oh no. Oh, he just gets Sparta kicked off the edge. Oh god, no. Yep. And he just sits on the edge and cries. And he got fucked up Luigi. Oh, wow. It fucking sucked. Oh. Yeah, we're just gonna go and save this website. I fucking love this. Wow. Jeff the Killer is... Oh. Oh, no, it's some other... Wow, okay. Alright, well... My throat's starting to give out on me. I hope you enjoyed this. Whatever the fuck this was. The board is up. But it doesn't look like there's any new art today. So, is there Homestuck Creepypasta? Most likely. Most likely. It was written as a joke. Okay, good. Thank God. Fucking hell. If this was not written as a joke, it's dumb. It's really dumb. I'm glad it was written as a joke, though. Because then I don't feel bad about making fun of it. Because it's fucking stupid as shit. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, let me know. If you didn't, let me know. Hi, Lord of Terra. Boom. And that's it for me for now. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back with maybe Subnut tomorrow. Maybe do some Subnut tomorrow. Might start a little earlier in order to get a longer stream in. Just do a long-ass stream. Where's the fart? The fart only is on the game one. I'm sorry. There you go. There's a little fart for you. There's a proper fart for you. Anyway, I hope you guys like this. I'll see you next time.